Hello and welcome to the final pre-season testing notebook. We have had a very strange day today in terms of reliability. We've had a total of 8 red flags today, so a very busy day, a very stop-start day. And the whole thing with that was, and that allowed a 25-minute extension to the time later today, so the session didn't actually finish till 25 minutes past 5 Bahrain time, 5 minutes to 3 UK time. So the first red flag was for Sebastian Vettel after spinning out at turn 1. It looked very much like a brake failure. He locked up all 4 wheels and went off, so it might have been a brake by a wire problem, the new braking system that they have at the moment in Formula 1. The second was for Romain Grosjean stopping on track. Then third for Jenson Button, that caused the end of his day with a gearbox problem. Fourth was for Grosjean. Yet again, the Lotus stopping. The Lotus just doesn't look ready for the 2014 season at the moment. Nico Hülkenberg was the 5th person to break down on the track. 6th was for Fernando Alonso. 7th was Bottas. They say it was just a high mileage failure on the ICE that caused Williams to stop. Williams haven't actually caused a red flag all pre-season apart from today, so they've done well in reliability sense for that, and that shows how reliable the Williams car is. And 8th was for Esteban Gutierrez. So as I said, due to the high amount of red flags today, the session was extended by 25 minutes, which allowed the floodlights to come on, because if you remember, this year's Bahrain Grand Prix will take place in the evening to celebrate their 10th anniversary. So the floodlights were put on for the last 25 minutes of the session. So reliability, though, looking a bit more of a concern, as teams today would have turned up their engine a bit more to try and see where they are in terms of performance. This will definitely make for an exciting FP1 and Australian Grand Prix, because as you can see, a high amount of cars breaking down. Literally every team, apart from the Caterhams and Marusha's team, didn't break down today. And who else was there? No, it was just the Marushans and the Caterhams that didn't break down today. And the Toro Rosso. Sorry, I forgot the Toro Rosso. But as I said, it's going to make for a great FP1 and a great Australian Grand Prix, because if anything for today is going into concern, we don't actually know if anyone will break down. There's someone, there is a still hint of breaking down, and especially if someone breaks down FP1 or FP2, how long is it going to take to fix those problems? That is a question, and obviously that's when the curfew hits, so teams can't do all-nighters like they have been doing during the testing period. They can't do that anymore. They can have a joker, but once they break that joker, then you can get a grid penalty for the season. So the Australian Grand Prix is in 2 weeks. This time next week, believe it or not, the Australian Grand Prix will be finished, and we'll already be looking forward to Malaysia. That is how quickly time moves in this sport. 2 weeks time, the race will already be over, obviously, because it's in Australia. So Grand Prix starts at 6 o'clock in the morning UK time, 5 o'clock in the afternoon Australian time. So let's just look at the times for today. So we had some quicker times, still some slow times. So first was Lewis Hamilton today in the Mercedes, completing a whopping 69 laps. Well, not that whopping to be fair. He did a 1 minute 33.2. Second was Bottas, confirming Williams' pace with a 1 minute 33.9, completing 108 laps. Alonso was third with a 1 minute 34.2, completing 69 laps. Fourth was Hülkenberg with a 1 minute 35.5, completing 74 laps. Verne was 5th with a 1 minute 35.7, completing 74 laps. Sutil was 6th with a 1 minute 36.4, completing 91 laps. Chilton was 7th with a 1 minute 46.9, completing 55 laps. In 7th was Sebastian Vettel, Sebastian Vettel was 7th, 1 minute 39.7. He did a 1 minute 37.7. Then Gutierrez with 1 minute 37.9 and 8th, completing 85 laps. Vettel had a good day. I didn't say his laps. He completed 77 laps today. In 9th was Jenson Button. He completed 1 minute 38.1, completing only those 28 laps. Kobayashi was 11th with 1 minute 38.3, completing 106 laps. And in 12th was Romain Grosjean with 1 minute 39.3. completing 32 laps. But I just want to quickly look at Sauber, because they used both drivers today. They completed a whopping 176 laps today. So reliability looking much of a less of an issue. But Gutierrez did stop, at the end of the session, not long before the flag was dropped, the checkered flag was dropped, but still 176 laps, 3 Grand Prix distances without stopping. So not bad reliability there for the Sauber team. McLaren, as I said, struggled with gearbox problems today. That's what stopped their running for 20, and Bahrain only did 21 laps. Same problem for Mercedes. Hamilton in the morning was also stopped by a gearbox problem. But he still managed to go on and do decent mileage, whereas McLaren, it completely halted their running. Williams looked strong again with Bottas. They could be the second quickest team at the moment. Well, at the moment, they are the second quickest team. Obviously, we have not seen McLaren do any quick qualifying simulations today, so we don't know where McLaren are. But they are definitely fighting with Ferrari and Mercedes for sure at the moment in terms of maybe qualifying pace and maybe even race pace. So it might be good to actually hear the Williams name at the top of the timesheets and at the top of the field and at the high-end points come Australia. Force India, they're close behind Williams as well, so they're in the round of the fight, just a little bit slower, I think, at the moment, according to the times. But obviously, we can't read too much into that. But with performance at the moment, more looking at today, Williams again at the top. Caterham doing good, seems to have definitely caught up and found some performance on Marussia. So that's good news for Caterham because they looked like they were 2 seconds or a second and a half slower than them a couple of days ago. Lotus, they don't really look ready for Melbourne at all. They just keep breaking down. They haven't got any laps done at the moment. Christian Horner says that Red Bull are 10 days behind the others, but we'll have to look forward to see how they do in Melbourne because that could be interesting to see how the reigning world champions start. It might be like 2009 when Ferrari and McLaren were at the back of the grid, but then they worked their way and found themselves later on in the season. But at the beginning of the season, they were at the back of the grid going out in Q1. That will be interesting. Marussia looked quick, but Caterham, as I said, they seem to be catching them up, so that will be interesting because we thought Marussia were ahead of Caterham, but it will be interesting to see how close that gap between Marussia and Caterham actually is. Sauber and Toro Rosso are close with each other at the minute. Sauber edging it. Toro Rosso might find themselves doing a race of their own with Sauber as well, because I don't think Sauber are that close to Force India. They say they should be scoring points, but I don't know how close they are to Force India. It's not really been told, but the reliability is okay. Toro Rosso just might be in a race of their own because they're quicker, I would say. I think they're more reliable than the Lotus and the Red Bull at the moment. But they might, performance-wise, I think they're probably less than the Red Bull and Toro Rosso. I don't know with Red Bull, but we think Lotus at the moment is the quickest Renault car. So we're not sure at the moment where Toro Rosso actually are. But they could, at the moment, from testing and from the time that they've done, they might be in a race of their own. So that is really it for testing. That was all that mainly happened today. A brief recap on all the teams and all their running that have been done at the moment for Bahrain and Jerez. Thank you so much for listening to these notebooks throughout the entire series, throughout the whole free test. I will see you yet again after the Australian Grand Prix for a notebook after them. Let's just recap on the race, highs and lows, what it means and what happens going into Malaysia. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to like, favourite and subscribe to F1 Breakdown. And I will see you after the Australian Grand Prix. Goodbye.